This is Electric Universe Geology, Earth News. Although again we're going to do a bit of a digression and look at Mars. Here we have Mars. Here's the southern hemisphere, here's the northern hemisphere. Southern hemisphere is much higher in altitude. Here we have Valles Marineris and these giant craters to the north, to the southwest of Valles Marineris. And then here, this little asterisk thing here is a crater that's imaged by the Germans. I'm going to be going to images that they have for us of this. You can see the size of these craters. They're pretty large. This is quite insignificant. I'm going to zoom in as much as we're allowed to with Google Mars, and you'll see that the crater is utterly insignificant that we're going to be discussing. It barely shows up. That's as far as you can zoom, and you can see the scratching along here. It looks like something wandered and excavated the surface. I'm guessing it's electrical. I don't know what the standard geological explanation would be or the mainstream explanation, but I don't think it makes any sense, just guessing. So anyway, we're now going to look at this area close up with photographs, but this gives you an idea of how insignificant the area actually is. This is the crater on the northern hemisphere that I don't think is going to have an impact explanation. And I don't think it was pulled up from below as the standard EU model would dictate. I believe there was dust in the air while there was an electrical event transpiring. I say this because of Homer. After Earth and Venus do battle, during the time of the Plague of Darkness, during the mountain building period, when there's so much dust in the air that you can put together mountain ranges relatively quickly, electromagnetically exacerbating the process, that then Mars and Venus do battle 4 times, Ares and Athena. Homer describes it in detail. It's in Worlds in Collision in the Homer chapter. 3 times Venus defeats Mars. The 4th time Mars defeats Venus. Venus becomes a speck in the sky, a small planet Venus. It's no longer a comet. But the first encounter and the second encounter, possibly maybe even the third, Venus might still have been a comet with a very, very massive tail full of dusty plasma. So as you have electrical discharges transpiring between Venus and Mars, you have dust available, dusty plasma. And I believe that's what this material is. This is material that was pulled in, not cast out from the crater. And it laid down a layer on the surface that actually extends past here. All of this, I think, is a fresh layer caused by this, and then each one of these individual craters brought in material, creating a rim and a layer around it that increased the volume of the surface, the altitude of the surface, this being the big one. Something seems to have been wandering along here. Electrical. I don't think it was water. Could be, but I don't think so. And it stopped here and created an arc. And this material was pulled in, not splashed out. Some of it, I believe, is actually splashed out. This is lower than the original surface. We're going to look at elevation maps in a moment. Let's look at a couple other images of this. This is a nice straight down view. It gives you an idea of the material surrounding the crater, the excavation that leads into it and leads out from it, and then all of the little tiny craters that surround it, that I think are processes of addition of external material not being pulled up from below, although I could be wrong. Now we're going to look at some depth images, elevation. I am going to have a link for the German website at the bottom of the video, underneath the video. It's in German. It says Deutsch on the upper right hand corner. There's also an English version. I prefer the English myself, seeing as how I don't speak or read German, but some of you might prefer the German. So you have options, and there's 9 different images, and there's downloads, high resolution downloads. This shows elevation. The green seems to be the original surface, but it could be something that was added to. The blue might be the original surface, actually, and then everything that's on top of the blue could be additional. Or the green might be the original surface, and stuff was removed to expose what is now the blue color, which is deeper than the green. The crater is interesting in that the dark blue is the deepest. You can see that over here on the scale. This seems to have been removed. On the other hand, it might have been the starting point, and everything around it might have been added to during this period of external deposition. Or not. It's hard to say, but there could have been material removed, and it could have added to what's surrounding the crater. It's not like a black and white issue. It's not yes or no. It's a lot of different options. But each one of these craters appears to have pulled in additional material, creating a rim, and the area surrounding it might have been added to with each one of these craters. Every one of them might have added to the overall depth of the surface, with this one being the granddaddy, adding the most. So down here could be the starting point, or this could be removed by a electrical vortex, ripping out the center and adding to the exterior of the vortex and creating a rim on the very edge where it's exacerbated. So it's a whole different way of looking at craters. I think this makes more sense than impact. I don't think impact could possibly explain any of this. It seems like there's multiple ejecta fields here, which other people have been talking about, being impossible with an impact. You'd have to have the exact same location for each impact. So I'm not sure if that actually applies to this, but I think it does. So yes, this is really insignificant. It's a little tiny crater on the northern hemisphere of Mars, but I think it tells quite a story, and it's electrical. It's not an impact, and I don't think it's pulling things up from below. I think it's adding to the surface as described by Homer during encounters between Venus and Mars, Ares and Athena. And Athena is supplying the dust to electroplate Ares. Or at least that's my story. I'm sticking to it for now. Thank you.